All righty, as we can wind down our conversations, we're going to get started. We have so many new people tonight. It's so wonderful to see so many new faces. Welcome, Democrats. Welcome to the Democratic Women's Club. My name is Kathy Hyatt. I am the president of the club, and I'm happy to see all of you here. Thank you so much for your time. We have a lot of people on Zoom as well. Thank you all for Zooming in with us. We really appreciate it. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second? All right, it has been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor, members only, please say aye. Any opposed? The agenda has been approved. All right. So we're going to start off tonight with a real quick mindfulness exercise to get us all relaxed and get our minds calm for the rest of the meeting. And we're going to introduce our internal vice president, Amber Niuatoa.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, everyone. It's so good to see the familiar faces, but also all of the new faces here tonight. At our board meeting, we decided with all of the craziness that we receive every day, it's really important for us in community to find ways to take deep breaths and be grounded and stay strong in our motivation and our commitment to moving forward and making positive changes in our community, regardless of the larger storm that may feel like it's coming down on us. So today I've put together a nice little mindfulness exercise for us that's also going to help us honor Women's History Month. So if you could just kind of sit back in your chairs or sit up tall, scoot back a little bit, put your feet, ground them into the earth, lift your heart up a little, maybe roll the shoulders a couple times back, nice and slow, feel where there might be a little tension, roll them nice and slow forward. And then you can either find a spot right off the tip of your nose to focus on, or if you're comfortable, closing your eyes. And then just bring your awareness to your nose and breathe in through the nose, 2, 3, 4, hold. And out of your mouth. Again, in through the nose, 2, 3, 4. And out of the mouth. One more time, in through the nose, 2, 3, 4. Out through the mouth. Now, breathing regularly, keeping your eyes closed or focused. Imagine a torch, much like the torch held by Lady Liberty. Imagine a bright torch that you're holding in your hand right in front of you. See the flame, feel its warmth. See the torch burning brightly. As you inhale, see how the flame, or feel the flame's warmth. And as you exhale, feel the flame get warmer and even brighter, maybe even bigger. Just watch the flame. This torch represents the light of progress carried by generations of women before us. Every exhale, it begins to get a little brighter, a little warmer, sustaining you in your journey. And now as you breathe, visualize just passing it to the person next to you. And if you're on Zoom, just your inner circle too. Look at their flame, watch it grow, bask in its warmth. The torch representing the light of progress carried by generations of women before us. And one more time, pass that torch along again. Strengthening the chain of leadership and change. Bask in the warmth. Watch the glow. Now you can say this in your head, or you can repeat after me. We hold the torch now. What we do today matters. We hold the torch now. What we do today matters.
What we do today.
One more time. We hold the torch now. What we do today matters. I'm going to end us with this quote from the lovely Eleanor Roosevelt. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. So may us not give up in the dark and turbulent times, but remember that we hold the torch and it is still up to us. The torch we carried is fueled by vision and determination. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amber. That was wonderful. All right, we are moving on to elected officials, and we have everybody's favorite Congresswoman and my favorite millennial, Sara Jacobs, the Honorable.
Yeah, of course. Well, hi, everybody. I know I'm feeling better after that mindfulness exercise. I hope you all are too. I really needed that. So I have a question. How many of us are feeling anxious, scared, frustrated, angry, other synonyms? Yeah? Enraged, that's a good one. All right, here's the thing. Terrified, yes. Disgusted. Here's the thing. They want us to feel this way. They want us to feel so overwhelmed that we think there's nothing we can do. But the thing is, they're wrong. There's lots of things that we can do, and you all here are already doing the most important first step, which is showing up in community, showing up and making your voices heard, and not letting them make you feel like you're alone in this, like you're the only one who feels that way. And so congratulations, you're already doing the first most important thing you can be doing right now in this moment, showing up to places like the Democratic Women's Club under Kathy's amazing leadership. And here's what we're doing in Congress. Now, I know I get all of your phone calls, so I know you want us to be doing more. And we're doing a lot, but there's always more we can be trying to do. And I'm constantly looking for ways that we can be doing more. But we in the House, and I don't speak for the Senate, you can yell at them, but in the House, we have a 4-part strategy of what we're doing to push back on the Trump administration and everything that they're doing. So the first part of the 4-part strategy is legislation, bills, right? I've introduced a bill that would protect USAID. Other people have introduced bills that would protect the Treasury payment system, Social Security, other things like that. And the thing is, we only need 3 Republicans to vote with us to be able to get these bills passed. 3 is not that many, right? Only 3. And so part of why we're introducing these bills is to put some of these vulnerable Republicans on the record on whether or not they'll support our bills. And to give them something to rally around so that, like, you know, if they want to push back, we already have this thing ready and we only need 3 of them to join us to get it done. So that's part 1, legislation. Part 2 is litigation, court cases. Now, a fun fact for all of you, Congress does not actually have standing to sue, even though it's our laws that they're breaking. And I'm very annoyed about that because there are laws, right? We should be able to go to the courts and say they're breaking our laws, but we're not allowed to do that. So what we're doing instead is we're working with outside groups to make sure that we have plaintiffs who do have standing, to make sure that they are suing, to be helping and doing amicus briefs and other things like that, to provide support. And then through our oversight work, getting them some answers that they might need to help with the litigation effort. And the litigation efforts have actually been very successful, right? We've seen them freeze a lot of what they're doing because of the litigation effort. We've seen them have to rehire federal workers, have to stop a lot of things, right? The litigation has been really successful. So that's part 2 of the 4-part strategy. Part 3 is oversight. The Constitution mandates that Congress does oversight of the executive branch. So we are doing oversight. We're in March Madness season, so I'm going to try for a basketball metaphor, but bear with me because I don't really watch basketball. Except go San Diego State. We are playing zone defense, not man-to-man. Does that work? Yeah? See what I mean? So the part of what the Trump administration is trying to do is do things so quickly that we don't have time to respond and we can't do anything about it. But there are 214 members of the House Democratic Caucus. And between all 214 of us, we are making sure we have eyes on everything. And so I visited some USAID sites. Colleagues of mine had been to the Treasury Department, the Labor Department, the Education Department. I myself went down to Guantanamo Bay last week to see what they were doing there. We are doing our constitutionally mandated oversight responsibilities, making sure they know we're watching, demanding answers, and also some of the things that we're getting, whether they answer us or not, and the answers that we get actually helps feed into the litigation efforts. Okay, so that's part 3, oversight. Now, part 4 is the most important part of the 4-part strategy, and it's all of you. It's public pressure, right? It is making sure that we are telling the stories of how what they're doing are impacting real people, that it is not just monopoly money behind big gray walls and federal workers in Washington, D.C., that the things they're doing are impacting real people in our community and that we're not going to let it stand. And we've seen public pressure has actually been successful, right? When they had that memo freezing all federal funding, they pulled it back because of public pressure. And in the first Trump administration, we were able to get them to stop the family separation policy at the border because of public pressure, right? So public pressure works. I know it sometimes can feel like they don't care what we think, but actually, if enough of us make our voices heard, they do actually care and they will change what they're doing. And many of you know, before Congress, I worked in conflict stabilization, post-conflict coups. And one of the things we know from all of the experiences in other countries that have had democratic backsliding is that if you can put together a broad-based pro-democratic coalition, a movement, you actually have an 84% chance of getting that democratic backsliding to actually reverse and actually get a better democracy on the other side. So that's what we're trying to do, is make sure we're building a broad-based pro-democracy movement that pushes back against what they're trying to do so that we can get the better democracy on the other side. Now, part of that means that we are going to have to welcome people into the coalition that maybe voted for Donald Trump or Republicans. And when they realize that despite voting for him, the policies he's putting in place are hurting them, we're not going to tell them, I told you so. Repeat after me. We're not going to tell them, I told you so. We are going to welcome them into the coalition because we need the coalition to grow and we need everybody working together to push back against what we're seeing from the administration right now. So that's what we're working on, our 4-part strategy. I'm happy to answer questions. I don't know if there's time for that. I'm happy to answer questions, but mostly I just wanted to come here and say thank you, because really clubs like this, groups like this, all of you showing up, this is our power. This is the most important thing you can be doing right now. And I'm grateful for you all for doing it.
All right. I'm sure we have questions. Turn it up a little, John. All right. We've got questions, and I'm going to take a personal point of privilege and ask the first one.
Okay.
You already mentioned yelling at the Senate.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on us pressuring the Senate to replace Chuck Schumer?
So look, I'm as mad at Chuck Schumer as you all are. I don't know how many of you saw my Instagram video where I yelled at him with no makeup on, but it takes a lot to get me to go on Instagram, not done up and ready to go. That's how mad I was. I don't think that's going to be successful. I think it's better to focus on pushing them to do what we want them to do moving forward, because I do think he has like a pretty strong grip on the Senate Democratic Caucus.
Great.
So we have a question. Okay. So we have a question from one of the Zoom participants. How can we say the litigation is successful when this president ignores judicial orders, appeals take forever, and he proceeds to do whatever he wants for as long as he wants?
Yeah. So look, the litigation effort has not been perfect, right? We saw them continue to fly Venezuelans to El Salvador. We've seen them sort of try and evade some of these things, but actually in many cases, they have been following the court orders. And in many cases, the court orders are doing temporary injunctions, which are stopping them. So it's not perfect. It's not everything, but it is one part of the strategy. And we've actually seen in some cases, not in every case, but in some cases, that they have been following it. Now, the other piece of this is that my Republican colleagues tell me privately that them not abiding by the Supreme Court order is their red line. Now, I'll believe it when I see it because these folks are not known to have a spine. But I do think the more we start having, we've got to have the litigation effort so that also people can see when he isn't following the court orders. And I do think if there's a big Supreme Court order and he decides not to follow it, that's when we all have to take to the streets. That's what's been successful in other places, like in South Korea, when the president has tried to institute martial law. Everyone just literally went to the streets, and that's how they were able to push back. And so I do think part of it is in certain instances, we have seen the litigation bear fruit. And in other cases, it's important for those who maybe aren't on our side yet to see that he's not abiding by them.
All right. Wait, I need you to get on the microphone so the people on Zoom can hear you.
Tonight's news is that Trump was ordered not to fly those Venezuelans.
Yeah.
And he not only is going to ignore it and let them be, but he sent out another plane load of them. And this is without any of them getting due process.
Yep. I agree. I'm horrified by what we're seeing happen with the Venezuelans. Wait for it to be a Supreme Court order. But I'm horrified by what we're seeing with the Venezuelans. I'm horrified by how they're trying to use the Alien and Sedition Act. I do think we will hopefully start to see more pushback on that from some colleagues on both sides of the aisle. But we're working on trying to generate that right now.
What if you, in the House of Representatives at least, Trump keeps telling all of these Republicans if they go against him that they'll primary him. Don't they realize that if they all go against him, there's no way they're going to primary him?
I think that they think that Elon Musk will happily spend money against all of them. But the other thing that's important to remember is that in a lot of these folks' districts, they voted for Trump overwhelmingly, and they are happy with what Trump is doing. In fact, recent polling shows that a lot of people, they don't feel like it's chaos. They feel like finally something's getting done. Even if I don't like what they're doing, at least something is getting done. And so a lot of what they're responding to is actually their constituents are not unhappy with what's going on right now. And it'd be the same as if I all of a sudden became like super pro-Trump. All of you guys would be like, wait a second, that's not what we voted for you to do, right? They are responding to what they're hearing from their constituents. So I do think, I'm having a lot of private conversations trying to get them to speak out. And again, we only need 3, but to give them the most generous interpretation of their behavior, which I have to do because I have to work with them, they are responding to real things that they're hearing from their constituents. Which is why the public pressure is so important and telling the stories about how this is impacting us, because until they start hearing different things from their constituents, they're not going to respond. So we need to actually change what people are feeling and hearing to get them to do what we want them to do, I think.
So Sarah, I personally, though, I have to say, I really enjoy your Instagram videos, and I want to make sure everybody knows she has them. She puts on her makeup and she's cooking and she's explaining all of these complicated things, and it's fun. It's fun. But I have another question from our internet viewers. When you say Chuck Schumer has a strong grip on the Senate position, my question is, what is the true nature of his grip? Are you saying he commands a large donor base that the Democratic Party needs?
No. What I'm saying is that, to change leadership in the Senate Democratic Caucus would have to vote for that. And I don't think the Senate Democratic Caucus is going to do that. So I think that our energy is better spent working on the actual things we want the Senate Democratic Caucus to do differently versus this change in leadership.
Lori Saldana is on Zoom. She has a question for you. Go ahead, Lori.
Yes, thank you. And Congresswoman, thank you. I know your family is being touched personally by many of these things. I have family that worked at USID. I have students that worked with US EPA, and they're all questioning what they're going to do next in their life. So thank you for doing, and for your colleagues for doing what you can. My concern, and I've had this discussion with other people, is a constitutional crisis is a lot like being pregnant. I mean, either you have one or you don't. And waiting until it goes to the Supreme Court when these injunctions at the federal level are being ignored. Right now, they're focusing on deportations, and they claim people are not here legally or they're criminals. But to me, that is just a red line, without hearing, without cause. So I understand the restraint, but I don't agree with it. I think we are already in a constitutional crisis, and saying we'll wait until the Supreme Court weighs in, to me, it's too late. And
Yeah. So let me just clarify what I was saying. I am very concerned by what we're seeing, and I'm pushing back hard. My Republican colleagues tell me that them not abiding by a Supreme Court order is their red line. And so part of this is, making sure we have the biggest coalition we can to push back and finding the right moments to do it. And that's why we're saying that. But we're pushing back hard. We've got a lot of, that's part of why I went down to Guantanamo Bay to see firsthand what was happening there. A lot of immigration enforcement has been delegated to the executive branch. So there aren't that many tools we have, but we are pushing back as hard as we can. And again, we only need 3 Republicans to work with us to be able to get that done.
Hi, thank you. I was wondering if you had any comments about if there's anything that can be done to stop Elon Musk and Doge from buzzsawing their way through the government. I work on on a scientific grant funded through HRSA. I mean, I don't know, they've been freezing NIH and cutting so many grants, and it's just very upsetting. And it doesn't seem like much is being done about it.
So part of why the House Democrats were trying so hard to push back on this continuing resolution is because we thought it wasn't one of our best chances to push back on what Elon Musk and Doge are doing. And part of what we're concerned about now is how the fact that some Senate Democrats voted for it will impact the litigation, because more than you ever wanted to know, but we think some courts will say, well, a bipartisan group of Congress has now approved of the spending, and therefore it's not the Impoundment Act. The Impoundment Act doesn't apply. We'll see what happens in the courts. I hope not. I keep saying we're pushing back. We're pushing back hard on these. We've gotten them to unfreeze certain funding. It's sort of a case-by-case basis. One of my pleas to all of you is that we're not getting information from the administration. I know you're shocked to hear that. Whereas normally, if there's any grant in our district, we get information about it. We're not getting that now. So if you are experiencing funding freezes or funding that should be coming or isn't, or is back turned on, not, let me know, because you're actually our source of information now. And we have something on my official website where you can put in stories about how the funding freezes are impacting you. And it's actually really helpful, because that's the only way we find out information right now. So the more you tell us, the more we can try and push back. I've been working with UCSD and SDSU on some of the strategies to push back on the NIH grants. We're also working to get the Republicans who live in places that are really impacted by this to help out. So we're trying.
One other question. The Guardian published an article that Republicans in Congress are intimidated by threats of physical violence, and that is preventing them from objecting to Trump's actions. What is your impression of the situation and the effect it is having in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, I mean, this is something I've heard from colleagues of mine since I first got elected. Actually, when they had to vote for the objections to the election in 2020, a lot of my colleagues told me that part of what informed their decision-making was threats of violence against themselves, but even worse, against their families when they weren't home, And so I do think that's a big part of his strategy of keeping the Republicans in line right now.
I want to be respectful of your time. I know you have another engagement. Can we do a couple more, or do you need to go?
One more.
One more. Oh, I think she had her hand up first.
Thank you. I'm I'm very concerned about his trying to shut down the Department of Education. And um, I have a granddaughter that's graduating. She's brilliant, and all of these children all across the country that we paid taxes for the Department of Education. This is what we want. I don't understand how he can shut it down when it is not the will of the people. I think that this is going to impact their lives, this whole generation of children.
Sorry, I must get in health. The pandemics, our RFK Jr. and his anti-positions, and now we are all gonna worry about pandemics coming here like Ebola and everything. So,
So we from Congress are from the House. Again, I don't speak for the Senate. We from the House are pushing back as hard as we can. But the thing is, we're in the minority. We don't have a lot of institutional tools to do it right now. Like, I wish I could go like personally chain myself to the Department of Education or something. It's not going to change anything. And so the most important thing that you all can be doing is talking about the human personal impacts that this has, talking to your friends and neighbors, talking to your friends and neighbors who don't always agree with you, talking to your friends and neighbors, especially who live in Republican congressional districts so that they can call their members of Congress. You're all welcome to call me. I love hearing from you, but I think I'm already voting the way you want me to for the most part. But talk to your friends and neighbors so that they can call their Republican members of Congress, because that's how we're really going to be able to push back on all of these things. Is we need 3 Republicans to vote with us. And like, I wish I could tell you that there was something more that we could be doing, and if you just called Democrats enough, we would do it. We're doing what we can do. The House is a very majoritarian structure. The minority party does not have a lot of rights. So we've got to get these 3 Republicans to flip, and then we've got to win the House in 26 so that we have subpoena power, so that we can call hearings, so that the Speaker of the House does have standing to sue, so that we can push back with all of the levers of the institution that we can. But right now, we're just a little bit, we need you guys. We don't have as much power as you want us to have. And so we need all of you guys to help us with that.
All right, let's thank the Congresswoman.
Thank you all so much. Thank you for everything that you do.
All right, she does need to get on her way. I'm so sorry if we didn't get to your question. All right, we're going to say goodbye to the Congresswoman and get on with our program tonight. And we are so lucky tonight to have the Executive Director of, let me see if I can get it right, Citizens for Community for Moral Governance. What? All right. MoGo for short. And she is also the founder of Motivation in Action. Please welcome the inspirational Geneviéve Jones-Wright. Thank you, Sara.
Thank you. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Michelle. So I am Geneviéve Jones-Wright, and I am the founding executive director of Community Advocates for Just and Moral Governance. I don't have to forgive you, Kathy, because I named us the longest name in the history of the world. Yes, which is why we go by MoGo. And I will say that it was very intentional to name us Community First, with community as our very first name, and our second name, Advocates, because we know that we need advocates in our community advocating for our communities. And so the very mission of my nonprofit is to hold the government accountable to all people, but particularly to marginalized people. And so, as you can see, with the times that we have right now, the climate that we're in, we absolutely need organizations like MoGo, which the emphasis is on moral governance, to be in the fight with all of us. Kathy also mentioned that I am the CEO and the founder, and as I like to say, the lead empower mentor of my company, Motivation in Action. I've spoken before this particular group a couple times, last year and sometime before that. And so basically what I'm here to do is to offer us collectively hope. What can we do, right? We know that it is not enough to talk about the problem. It is not enough to lament. Yes, we should vent. That is good. But what do we do after we lament and we vent? What do we do during that time? Because we have to take action, right? And so the thing that I want to impress upon everyone is that the power of the people is stronger than the people in power. And we all have to believe that. We are the people and we have the power. And so our power is greater than the people who are in power. And so I love what Congresswoman Jacobs said, because on a whole lot of different points and issues, because she is right. Public pressure works. Things that we do individually and collectively work. And we cannot sit back and not do anything and believe and internalize what they want us to believe and internalize, which is that they're going to overwhelm us to the point where we don't know what to do, that we're confused, that we're tired, that there's nothing we can do. There is absolutely something we can do. And so I want to just talk a little bit about that tonight. So I will say that I will do anything that Kathy asked me to do. And so when she told me about this convening, I said, okay, I'm gonna stop my vacation. Well, what vacation was that? Where's Michelle? Michelle Morgan, I just heard you were traveling the world. Where did you go? Cambodia, New Zealand, Europe. Who else was on vacation? Yes, I'm going to wait for Kathy to bring the microphone to you so the people at home can be jealous as well.
I actually was in on a cruise to South Africa for a month,
Beautiful.
almost about 27 days.
Very
Had a
nice.
wonderful time, Cape Town and going up. So
Thank you. And there was another hand. Yes, would love to hear where you were.
All the islands in Hawaii, Japan, and Seoul, Korea.
Beautiful. Now, where was I vacationing? This was a metaphorical vacation. I didn't go to Cambodia. I didn't go to the Hawaiian Islands. Now, we have a dear sister who's been a member of this particular group for a very long time, Maisha. Her last name escapes me, but she has this shirt and it's to the effect of, she's a Black woman, and she goes, "Don't look at me, I was a part of the 92%. Have you all heard that Black women were stepping back? Right? So remember when the call was, let Black women lead? We follow Black women, we follow their lead. We all know that Black women have collectively as a group been holding down the Democratic Party. We are so loyal. We lead the resistance. You look at what's happening right now and you think about who the stalwarts are. You have Jasmine Crockett, that amazing Congresswoman, and she is very new, right? She didn't waste any time. And then you have Maxine Waters, who's been doing this for a very long time, and she is not relenting in her fight, right? And so it's easy to say, hey, I'm just gonna sit back for just a moment because I've been fighting. And not only have I been fighting, I've been leading the fight. But I can tell you this, the alternative is too grim for any of us to believe we can take a seat, that we can take a break. Now, I do understand as a Black woman that we don't want to have to lead everything. So when Kathy said, come and address, I said, oh, Lord, here we go. Am I supposed to stop my vacation? Absolutely. You want to know why? Because we're all in this together. And at the end of the day, all of our values align and we have work to do. Who's with me on that? Woo. All right, here we go. And by the way, my vacation didn't last long. I read Maisha's shirt and said, that's great. And it only took me 5 seconds. I was like, girl, you got a whole nonprofit about resisting the government. So get up. So want to talk to you about power. our power, okay? So the P in power is participate actively in local and state and national elections, okay? I know you all know this. We are the Democratic Women's Club. We know that we need to participate, but how about grabbing other folks and educating them and encouraging them to also participate? I want to say this too, participating in democracy, because let me tell you, this is so important because we actually have a group of people who hate government at the helm of government. Have you thought about that? They are anti-government leading our government. And so what we're seeing is an attack on our government, the very essence of what government is, what government does, what government represents. And these are the folks who are now making policies, both elected and non-elected persons. Okay, so that's important. And we really have to talk to each other about what that actually means and why we have to wield our power during elections. Now, here's what I'm going to say. I know you guys are going to be writing letters to your Congress or your representatives in Congress. I hope so. I hope that's still on the agenda. This is important because people are talking about what's going to happen in the midterm elections in 2026. I can tell you that the balance of power can shift in 2025 based on vacancies already known and some that are predicted. How do we talk to voters or persuade voters in these jurisdictions to get up off their butt? Because and I'm sorry, you all are my people. I'm just going to just say it the way it is. We had a lot of people who sat on the couch who decided they were not going to participate in our elections because they didn't see a difference between VP Harris and that guy, right? I think a lot of people are regretting that decision, but we still have a lot of work to do. And so we have to convince in some cases, and encourage our neighbors in Arizona, a battleground state. There is an opening. We have the ability to shift power in the House of Representatives. So let me just give you some examples. Florida has 2 congressional seats, the 1st and the 6th congressional district. You have Matt Gaetz, who resigned, and then you have Waltz, who is giving up his seat. Those are both Republicans. If we can replace those 2 Republican seats with the Democrat, we're already making headway because Republicans have a very slim majority right now in the House of Representatives. The other thing is Texas's 18th congressional district. We had a Democrat who passed away in office. We need to keep that seat Democratic. Now, that particular district is not very vulnerable to having a Republican take it over. However, again, we've seen wilder things happen. We have to stay on guard. And Arizona in the 7th congressional district, we have another representative who just passed away this month as well, who was a Democrat. Again, this is a Democrat leaning district, but we want to make sure that we retain that seat. There's also, and so all of these are going to be elections that happen this year. For Florida, we're talking April 1st for the general, okay? The next one is a perceived opening, which is New York, because there may be a confirmation of a Trump pick, which means that the person who is there is going to need to be replaced, right? And so we have to think strategically about what participating in local and national elections look like and what we can do as a collective, right? We're called the Democratic Women's Club. Should we be encouraging Democrats in those areas to come out? How does that look? What can we do to actually join hands, right? And I know this may sound really simple, but it has always been a source of motivation and encouragement, just sending postcards. So if we could somehow maybe find the identities of the voters who didn't vote in the last election and you encourage them that they can be a change maker, maybe that's something that this group can do, right? So that's one thing. I would like to go to the O, which is organize strategically with groups fighting for democracy. A lot of times we think that we're alone. We think that there's no other group or a person who is doing the same work. I want to give you some names of organizations that are doing the work that we can all join with. So of course, my organization, Community Advocates for Just and Moral Governance, MoGo, and I'll give you some more information on what that looks like and what we're doing. But have you ever heard of Swing Left or Take Action San Diego, right? Very, very wonderful group. And if you go to their website, you will see resources and you will also see links to other organizations that are doing things, including governors who are not necessarily all Democrats or Republican, but a nonpartisan group of governors who are taking a stand against what is happening that is anti-democratic in our country. And so it's always good to understand we're not alone. It's always good to work in collaboration so that we're not working in silos, we're not reinventing the wheel, and that there's strength when we all come together. So the O is for organize strategically with groups fighting for democracy. The W, wield your power wisely. Okay, we've talked about power in voting, power in educating ourselves and neighbors, but what about our economic power? So one of the things that Swing Left was heading and doing was a boycott. February 28th, you all may have heard of it, and this was an action. But I want us to really think about economic power and the impact on systems when we actually wield our economic power. Now, I saw a lot of things where folks were questioning, well, what is a 40-day boycott going to do to Target? What is it really going to affect? Is it going to really affect change? Well, I can tell you that Target reported that they had a decline in their profits in February and are predicting that year over year profit decline is going to happen because of this welling up of people who are no longer purchasing from Target. And I can tell you that I loved Target. I mean, so much to the point where my 2-year-old has a Target shopping cart. And I mean, I just couldn't believe it, right? So it may be hard, but think about what happened during the Montgomery bus boycotts with the civil rights movement. Think about what policies came into play and what laws came into existence because of the 381-day boycott. When you disrupt economic systems, it will affect change. Now, I don't know this to necessarily be true, but I can tell you that I took a little bit of joy when I heard that this had happened after Marco Rubio's text messages were leaked, where he talked about walking into the Oval Office and Donald Trump was sitting on the floor with his legs spread and Elon Musk was crying in his lap because of all of the money that Tesla lost. What I can say is that may or may not be true. But what we do know is that because of the movement, the Tesla takedown movement, he has lost millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And Tesla's stock has plummeted 45%. Okay? Now, one of the reasons why I elected to create a nonprofit that was an impact litigation organization, which means that we sue the government in order to change policies and laws, is because I believe you have to hit them where it matters. These people only understand money. So if we wield our economic power collectively through our individual efforts, we can make change. I really want us to understand the power that we have. So it may be hard. It may be hard not to shop on Amazon. I'm not ready. I don't know. But we have to understand that there has to be sacrifice made. We have to sacrifice, okay? So we're going to wield our economic power wisely. The E is educate others about their rights and the issues we face. Now, this may sound very simple. It may sound like, why would I need to talk to people about the issues that we face? Aren't they getting it? Don't they see it? I mean, we've seen a lot of people who are saying, I voted for Trump, but I didn't vote for that. I voted for Trump. I knew he was going to do mass deportations, but I never thought he would deport my wife. Right? Another example of the I voted for the leopards eating my face party, and then you're surprised at the leopards ate your face, right? But I really want us to understand something in San Diego County. In majority Latino areas, they voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump in our county. We have to understand that as Democrats, okay? And I want to make sure that I give you some numbers, because in Chula Vista, where 53.5% of registered voters are Latino, Trump earned 41.7% of the vote compared to 33.5% 4 years prior. In National City, which is 61.9% Latino, his support rose from 31% in 2020 to 39.9% this particular cycle. And in San Diego City Council District 8, where 69.4% of registered voters are Latino, Trump earned 40.2% of the vote as compared to 27.5% in 2020. That is nearly a 13-point swing. We have work to do. And the thing that I really liked about Tim Walz and him speaking on the panel where I just heard him speak a couple of days ago was that he said, I now understand, and we have to acknowledge that some people just didn't see a difference. And so I'm with Congresswoman Jacobs we have to bring people into the coalition. We have to bring people into the tent. Now, I'm not ready to say, like Congresswoman Jacobs, that I'm not going to say I told you so. I'm not there yet. I'm not that mature, okay? I'm going to tell you right now that I'm very upset with those folks. Now, there were some people who really and truly didn't know. When we talk about Project 2025 and the risks that are associated, the risk to democracy, the risk to everything that has been hard fought. And let us not misunderstand that this is an attack on progress. This is an attack on things that were hard fought and won that they're trying to roll back. So when we see the attacks on DEI, when we see the attacks on, just name it, this is about returning us back to where women couldn't even have credit. I mean, it is that dire. We are being distracted by little things, but really and truly what's happening behind the scenes is a rolling back of our very rights. And I wish I had more time to talk about that, but I am telling you, I can draw a line through that will connect to the bigger fight that is ahead if we are not on guard right now. All right. But it is incumbent upon all of us to talk with our neighbors and educate them about their rights and about the issues that we all face. And then finally, the R is to resist injustice fearlessly and relentlessly. And so I am always very strengthened by groups like this coming together and saying, we will resist together. We will come together with our individual efforts that will make such a drastic impact because we have come together. The thing is that they want us divided. They want us to look at each other and say, you didn't do your part. They want us to look at each other and say, you voted the wrong way. But we have to be united. And in order to resist, we have to resist together. And we can't turn a blind eye to things that are happening because we all know when it happens over there, it's going to come over here. And so we have to resist injustice wherever we see it. So that is the power. That is what I leave you with. And I hope that tonight we recommit ourselves to the efforts to really wield our power in every sphere that we work in, where we live, and just be true to who we are. We know that there is actually more of us than they want us to believe. And we really do have to work to get people off of the bleachers and the sidelines, because believe it or not, they're with us. They are. They're with us. And so it is incumbent upon all of us to get our brothers and sisters together with us so that we can resist courageously, fearlessly, and together. And with that, I will end. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Geneviéve. All right. So that was powerful, power and powerful. And let me get the name right this time. Community Advocates for Just and Moral Governance. Please look her up on Facebook, Instagram.
Totally forgot. I said I was going to come back to a certain point. I'm so sorry. My organization is leading a community education summit. It is called Vision 2025. This is designed to educate community members about the dangers of Project 2025, but not only that, to mobilize us together where we can cast our own vision. Because as I started off the presentation saying, it's not enough for us to complain. I don't like to just talk about the problem. What does the society we want look like? And how do we move towards that society, a society that is just, a society that is fair, a society that is equitable? So that is what the summit is about. It is going to happen this spring. I will gladly pass on the message. We are trying to finalize the venue, but I can tell you it is going to be powerful. This is what we have to do. We must come together and have a positive vision, a proactive vision. So not just working to prevent the rest of the agenda that is now on our doorstep, but also working together to build our society and to rebuild the foundations of our democracy. Thank you.
All right. So we've got the information up on the screen about the Vision 2025 Summit. And we will share that in our follow-up email, which we always send a follow-up email after our meetings with all the links and information that you're craving. So look for that on Wednesday. Thank you so much, Geneviéve. And I know you have to get home to your beautiful little daughter, but we really appreciate you coming out. All right, we're moving on. And so Geneviéve did reference writing postcards. So I did bring postcards tonight. So I hope everybody would like to write. On your agenda, I listed, John, do you have the pictures that I sent you? There's one of the congressional map, and there's one of our members of Congress and our senators. Anyway, on your agenda, if you, while John's getting that up, you can look and see your members of Congress and your senators all listed, their addresses of their Washington office and their local office.
This is not about this, the California, but the woman, two people who are running for the Florida House seats. One of them is a woman, and she ran against Gates before. He only beat her by 32 points.
Right, and that is why it's so important for us to work on those, and we will. As soon as I have resources to do that, we will work on those. So up on the screen, we have our congressional reps. Everybody here should be in one of those districts, and one of those things is not like the other. Do we know which one? So we've got Daryl Issa in District 48, and that guy's got to go. So that's, we talk about helping in Arizona, we could help in El Cajon. So if we need to find a really good candidate to run against Daryl Issa and try to get San Diego County all the way blue. So these are our representatives. You can write postcards to whichever that you like. I have a map there too. If you're unsure, there I have a map. And if you are able to look on your phone, you can just Google "Find My Rep" and put in your address. And want to help me pass out? And find your rep that way. It's very easy. We are writing about whatever is on our heart. So if you want to put pressure on your rep about any particular issue, yeah, you can give a few. We have plenty of postcards. Then please do that. If you want to write to Daryl Issa, go ahead and do that. If you want to write and talk about Chuck Schumer and how you want them to pressure him, you can write about that. People talked about the Department of Education. People talked about the health organizations. And all of those things are good to write about. I also have stamps, so I'm not going to leave you hanging with a postcard with no stamps. But that's what we're going to do if we want to. I think we can probably get through some business while we're doing our postcards. But please feel free to take postcards, write postcards. We have pens for everybody.
Did Sarah Jacobs perhaps say which, like, Congress people might be more like effective about us pressuring, just because the 4 out of the 5 of ours are voting the right way?
That's true. 4 out of the 5 are voting the correct way. And we also could write to our senators, but it's a way for us to put pressure on them to fight, to resist, to tell them what is important to us. So you're welcome to write to any of your representatives, or if you want to write to ISA, you could do that. It's typically not as effective to write to somebody if you're not their constituent. So that's why if you can find who your rep is, that's probably the best course of action. Yes, some of you are lucky enough to have Sara.
So Daryl Isa is my rep. So what do you think is the first thing? What things do you think I should put on this? Upset me. I'd like some ideas.
All votes should count. Yes. You could say something like that, we're coming for your seat, or something like that. We're going to fight you in the next election. Whatever you think you want to put. Have a heart. Yeah. So, John, could you put a little music on for us, just for maybe 5 or 10 minutes? And I'm going to come around with stamps for everybody. The question was, should you put a return address? If you feel comfortable putting your return address, that will let them know that you're a constituent. So I would at least put your zip code.
The who's who of who's that is poised.
HOB is an abbreviation for House Office Building, for the House of Representatives Office Building.
turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast, be the backlash of somebody's lack of love. Or you can start speaking up. Nothing's gonna hurt you the way the words do when they settle in your skin. Kept on the inside and no sunlight. Sometimes a shadow wins. But I wonder what would happen if you said what you want to say. And let the words fall. Honestly, I would say what you want to say. And let the words fall. Honestly, I would say just, 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 just. Everybody's been there, everybody's been stared down by the enemy. Falling for the fear and to disappearing out down to the mighty. Don't run, stop holding your tongue. Maybe there's a way, change where you live. Maybe one of these days you can let go. Show me how you want. Stop silence. Oh, do you be good? If you think it would, your words be everything. What you tell true? You want to say, and let the words fall out. Honestly, everybody, what you want to say, and let the words fall out. Honestly, just
All right, while everyone's still writing, we're going to go ahead and get our business wrapped up so we can not be out too late tonight. You can keep writing your postcards, and we're going to go on to business. Do you have something before that?
I just want to say that the songs that you heard are part of a playlist that I made for DWC for a Christmas party, and we can post it. It's goes on forever, and it's all women empowerment.
Thank you for doing that, Susan. That was really good of you and John to do. All right, so next on the agenda is unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business to talk about tonight?
Hi, so we donated some money to a quilt. Hold on. For 1619 National Celebration for Black Women in 2019. And they had an event at the Women's Museum in Liberty Station. Well, the quilts are now 3 quilts, and they're going to be unveiled tomorrow and I think Kathy has sent it out. There it is. And if you want to come, I'm going to be there. Kathy's going to be there from 3 to 5 tomorrow. And it's in Balboa Park. and it will be in the San Diego History Center because the Women's Museum has now moved, and it's in it's in the San Diego History Center. So we welcome you to come. And if you are going to come, if you think you're going to come, you're excited, please let me know. So that I can let the organizer know. Quilt has a long history between for women, not just Black women, but all women in especially in America. So it's going to be a very interesting event.
Yes, the Women's Museum had a really cool exhibit about craftivism, and I think quilts fall into that category. Any other unfinished business from previous meetings? Do we have any new business tonight? Any new business? All right. Oh, Michelle?
Yeah, just, well, it's a question, it's two things. One is a question whether or not the club is going to be getting a table for the Roosevelt dinner. And also just making sure that people are aware that there's a progressive labor summit happening just before the Roosevelt dinner the same day. That's it's cheap to attend, but they will absolutely give tickets free. They don't want money to be a limiting factor for the Progressive Labor Summit.
All right, I'm sure Hannah's getting that in the minutes, so we will have a link to the Progressive Labor Summit, and the club has purchased a table. We will be representing the club at the dinner. The Roosevelt dinner is the big dinner, the big fundraiser for the San Diego County Democratic Party held every spring, and it's coming up on April 19th. Do we have any new business? Any other new business? Hang on one second.
Good evening to all of you. My name is Berta Lopez. I know I'm a new face here tonight. I've been attending your meetings through Zoom, but I just wanted to introduce myself. I am your South Bay Area Caucus Associate Member. I represent our club in South Bay Area. I live in Chula Vista. So if there's anything that you would like me to bring up, if you live in Chula Vista or anything that you might need my help, please feel free to just call me and I'll be happy to serve you. Okay. Thank you.
If you're from Chula Vista, I live in San Diego, south of Chula Vista. And correct. So, do you also work for those people that are down there too? Because we don't have a club.
No, I'm on the South Bay. I'm sorry. I know we don't have a club in that area. They have the Chula Vista Dams in that area. Actually, there's two of them that I know of, Chula Vista Dams, and they're actually meeting on the 27th. And then they have the Spanish speaking also dams in that area. Those are the only two that I know.
154 is probably closest to Imperial Beach.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Brenda Miller, and Nurse Brenda, as you might know me from running for a political position, and I decided that I would stay in the political world and continue to learn about it as I continue educating future nurses and working at the hospital as a nurse. And I was just recently elected as the ADEM for 79, and I received the highest votes, and I will be, and it's June at the conference. I will be, I guess, recognized as the executive director for the CalDem.
Yes, so for our new people, that's probably a lot of stuff that you're unfamiliar with. So ADEMS, we just had election for ADEMS, and the district that she represents is 79. That is your state congressional district. So we'll go over districts at a future meeting. I really want to dive into that and help everybody understand how you're represented in so many different ways in the county, in the city, in the state, and then in the federal government. But also she's talking about the convention. The Democratic Party of California is having its convention the last weekend of April, first weekend of May. Oh, I'm wrong. The last of May, the 1st of June. May 30th to June 1st in Anaheim. And going back to Bertha, Bertha is our club associate for the South Area Caucus, and that is with the San Diego County Central Committee, which is the party of San Diego County. And when a club has over 20 members in a area, they get a representative. She is our representative. So we're happy that she's doing that. All right, we're going to move on to officer reports. And I'm going to start off with, I guess I'll go first. We have an app. You can download our app anywhere you get your app at DWC-SD. And that's where you will find our app. You can get it for Apple, you can get it for Android. All right, let's go. I'm going to start over here. We're our treasurer, Beatrice.
Hi. At the end of this week, our bank account for the club will be about $2,100.
Thank you, Beatrice, and thank you for all your work. And I know you have to file all kinds of crazy paperwork and everything. Nobody knows all the work that Beatrice has to do behind the scenes. So thank you very much for that. All right, now we have our newly elected internal vice president, Amber K. Niuatoa.
I don't have much to report. We did have a wonderful conference, women's conference this weekend up in North County for the North County African American Women's Association. We got lots of swag, like this beautiful little portfolio here. So check us out again. We're biannual. This was our 30-year anniversary. It was super special. We had Jack A. Harry as our guest, as our keynote speaker, and a fashion show by a local fashion designer, Liz Russell. So it was really a beautiful day for empowering women, health, wealth, all the things that we need to unify at a larger scale and spend a day together with good music. I'm looking forward to doing more things in the community and helping to represent our club in North County.
Thank you so much, Amber. Appreciate that. Now we have Susan Pinato, who is our external vice president.
Okay. A lot of you know that there are other groups. Somebody mentioned Swing Left. That's Wendy Galertner. And I really encourage you to kind of, if you have one of these local groups in your area, to try to join them, because I think they have a lot of momentum and a lot of influence, because Democrats right now do not have the greatest reputation. People are really upset with Democrats, but that doesn't mean that these people are not they're our allies. Indivisible, Swing Left, Tama Becca Verano, Change Begins With Me. All of these groups are important and we need them. So befriend them. They have lots of activities, and I think they're actually where a lot of the action is going to be.
And we'll link to their group, to those groups on the newsletter as well. Patricia is our membership director.
I just wanted to point out how inspirational it is during very discouraging times to have new members with energy and interest showing up. All of you who are new today, will you raise your hands? Look at this. Isn't this fantastic? We have also people who have just joined and come like to 2 to 5 meetings so far. Will you raise your hands? So look at all that. Look at all that. We have so much new energy. Thank you so much.
Right. And what Geneviéve said about Black women being worn out and tired from doing all the heavy lifting of the party. I know folks that have been around for a long time, since 2016 and before, they're also very tired. And so the new blood coming into the club is really crucial. So we really appreciate you being there. And I see a lot of our regular members on Zoom. We appreciate them too, but thank you so much for coming, and especially for making the trip and coming in person. Hannah, do you have a report as our secretary? All right. Did I miss anybody? We got anybody online? We've got Elise was online earlier. Elise, would you like to say something? She is our director of community relations, and maybe she might have a report tonight.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. I'm excited about all of the new members, and I congratulate you guys for joining the Democratic Club. I just wanted to remind my dear friend Susan that as a board member of 1619, she has to be there at 2 o'clock, not 3.
Thank you, Elise. How's your family in Mississippi?
Well, the family that lives in Mississippi, in Magnolia, Mississippi, their homes were completely destroyed.
Oh.
So the family's kind of getting together to see how we can best help them. And so we're waiting for a response now from our family in Greenwood, Mississippi, because those are the people that I know the best, but they're devastated. Something that you don't want to happen to anyone. And it was a great meeting, Kathy, and this is the second time that I saw Sara Saturday at a BAPAC meeting. And so it was good to see her 2 days in a row. And my problem is I never see Ron Vargas, so I'm writing him a letter telling him he has to have a town hall.
That is
Yes.
one thing about Sarah Jacobs is that she shows up. She really
He
does.
shows up,
We
yeah.
appreciate that about her. Before you go, Elise Pipkin Allen, I think you had some happy news too, didn't you, about an appointment?
Oh, yes, Secretary of State has appointed me as a delegate for the state Democratic Party.
Yay, so we'll be seeing you on Central Committee.
Yes, very happy.
Elise, I'll see you at 2 o'clock tomorrow.
Yes, Elise is also on the board of 1619, so she's participating in the quilt unveiling. All right, that is all the officer reports. That brings us to announcements. Anybody have announcements for us today? Michelle?
Yeah, you know that I've been talking about the National Union of Healthcare Workers ad nauseum since October 21st, when they first went on strike. So now it's 5.5 months. They did go into mediation a week ago. It feels like it was forever. A week ago, and it totally exploded Tuesday night at midnight. So it just, it's very clear that Kaiser is not willing to negotiate in any kind of, fairness. So just, we're still out there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, very close to here. On Ruffin Road in Claremont Mesa Boulevard at Kaiser San Diego Medical Center. It's the mental health workers. They can still use help on a hardship fund. If you go to kaiserdon'tdeny.org, come give them some inspiration to stick it out.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, any other announcements for tonight? I want to thank our tech team over here. We've got John, Hannah, Nick, and Susan. They make our hybrid meeting possible. Thank everybody on Zoom for logging on tonight. Thank you again for coming. We really appreciate you. Hang in there, everybody. We're in this together, and we hope to see you next month. And I call the meeting adjourned.